All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am so very excited for our guest today because we've got none other than Coach Dan Gordon stopping by with us today to talk about selling authentically, building trust, and winning clients. Dan is an executive business and sales coach. Dan, thanks for being here today.
Damon, it is such an honor to be here. It's always so good to talk with you. This is like our fourth or fifth time talking, and I'm really happy to be here, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited too, Dan. I mean, your experience teaching people how to just communicate well and build that trust is so important. So, like we always want to on the show, Dan, is get to know Dan. How did Dan get into being an executive business and sales coach?
It's really strange. About 8 years ago, I was a man in a very unusual position. I was on the floor of my apartment in a pool of my own snot and tears because my marketing company had just failed. It had crashed historically, right? I had lost over $100,000. I was another 100K in debt, and it was looking pretty bad, right? I was having what I can only call an emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
And something came to me in that moment, a truth. And the truth is our outer world is a physical manifestation of an inward belief system, right? If you ever want to know what you believe inside, just look around in your world, look around the people in your life, your income, the type of your surroundings, like everything. And so I had to ask myself a big question. The big question was, why did I choose to destroy my company? Right? Kind of subconsciously, but in one way or another, if you're in a bad position, who's the common denominator? Right? You, right? So I'm like, okay, obviously I don't want to be in marketing, right? And it was true. Like I realized I hate marketing. I'm just really good at it. What I was supposed to be doing was being in the changing people's lives business, because way before that, I used to teach personal development courses, right? These intensive 3-day seminars, and I was really good at it. And I loved it, right? There wasn't a lot of money in it at the time. So I got into marketing, right? And a bunch of other stupid stuff that I just wasn't me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to erase the whiteboard and start over from the beginning. And Damon, 8 months later from that very day that I was on the floor in snot and tears, I walked out on stage in Dallas, Texas, being paid $10,000 for my very first speaking gig. Right?
Nice.
And that was the start of my life as it is today. And I love what I do. My eyes pop open at 5 a.m. My feet hit the floor at 5:10. After I cuddle with my girl a little bit, and then right, pray, meditate, exercise, and then at work no later by 7, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I love this life, and it's a life where I get to support people in doing the things that they love, right? Because so many people, right, are great at what they do. And they suck at selling what they do, right?
Yes.
And the problem is they put all of their effort into being great at what they do, thinking, well, if I'm really good at this, people will just naturally hire me. Well, the crappy ones out there are putting a minuscule amount of time into being good at what they do and a tremendous amount of time at learning how to sell what they do, right? So I help turn that around, right?
Yeah.
Because look, when I first got into coaching, I didn't know how to sell what I was doing. Just because I'm good at sales, it doesn't mean I'm great at selling everything. I couldn't sell myself, right?
Yeah.
And so I was watching these scammy, spammy coaches. Boom, boom. I mean, they were just sucking up clients left and right. Like some of my, like I would talk to a prospect, I get them really interested in coaching, and then somebody else would close them. And it was heartbreaking because I would see these terrible coaches who I knew were not going to do any good at helping this person swoop up these clients. And I know you who are listening right now have had that feeling. Why are my prospects going to somebody else who are terrible and not working with me because I'm great? Now, Damon, you're going to have to jump in here because I'll just keep talking.
No, because I think this is really good because we're going down. First of all, the love. I mean, I I don't know anybody that hasn't gone through some real strife in their life. I mean, I'm sure there are. I'm sure
Yeah.
people that haven't, but I'm sure, but the vast majority of people that I meet have all gone through something that was
Hmm.
gut wrenching, that did a major turn in their life. And most times, while they go through that tough time, and it may be dark as heck, coming out of it, and you talk to them like yourself after a while,
Yeah,
it gets much better.
it does.
And it's
And
funny how we run into those walls and get
mhm.
down in the muck, and then we realize a year, maybe 2 years, sometimes even 5 years later, how much better we are because we went through that.
Yes. Yes. And, I've studied successful people all my professional career. And when I hit that floor and snot and tears, I knew this was my turn because
There you
every
go.
one of them, right? Every one of them had
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to get out of it, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know how
Yeah,
I was going to end up not being homeless,
yeah,
because there was no money. There was
yeah,
less
yeah,
than no money, right?
yeah,
But it's a strange thing. It's a
yeah.
strange thing when you reset your switches, when you follow your passion. Now, you can't just follow your passion. You can't just go, I'm passionate about this and go eat a sandwich, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You got to do the work,
yeah,
right? This crap I hear about do what you love and the money will follow. Oh, right, right.
yeah.
It's do what you love, work your ass off at it. And then the money starts trickling in a little bit, right?
Let's just stop there for a minute.
Okay.
I like that. So do what you love, work your ass off at it, and then the money starts trickling in. And over time, it may trickle a
Yeah.
little faster. But you
It,
see, you look at most people, that's the way it happens. You
yeah.
look into, you talk to, I mean, just pick. I was at a concert a while ago, and I remember and this is a pretty well known band. They fill up
Yeah.
arenas everywhere in stadiums, and they said, "Listen, 15 years ago, we were playing to 200 people if we were lucky, sometimes 20 people in a little
Mm,
corner bar. And to see where we're at today, we would have always wanted to get here,
yeah.
but we are so appreciative of being here." And it just goes to show that, keeping that, working your ass off, like you said, towards those
Hmm.
goals is a great thing. So we got Ron Higgs stopping by. He's on YouTube right now. Said it trickles slowly.
It does, Ron. It does, man.
Yeah.
I guess it's true. Do what you love and the money will follow. But there's a big middle part there, right? That most
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
don't talk about. They don't talk about how hard it is. And it is hard. And it's soul crushing because you don't have a magic ball, a crystal ball that's going to tell you when it's going to turn around.
Yes.
You just have to kind of like, find your way in the dark. And,
I
and
like
it just
that.
starts to, somehow, some way, if you stay with it long enough, all the people who are weak will fall off and you just naturally arrive, first place in line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
I do want to cover something, unless you got something.
No, go for it.
Okay. So here's a way to shorten the time in between the hard stuff and the good stuff. And like anything, everything that you want starts with doing something you don't want to do. Everything that you want starts with doing something you don't want to do. And one of the things that most good, solid, moral business owners don't want to do is they don't want to talk positively about themselves. Right? We got this thing put in our heads early in life that if you talk about yourself, you're what, Damon?
Bragging.
You're bragging, right? Yeah, you're bragging. You're full of yourself.
Yeah.
You should just kind of put your hands in the pockets of your overalls and kick the dirt and go, oh, it weren't nothing, right? But here's the truth. In order to get people to trust you, to have faith in you, you have to show that you have faith in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you something, Damon. I am better at what I do than most people are at anything that they will ever try. And I don't say that just to say it. I say it because I've worked hard to be that. And I've had people say it back to me. Now, this thing
Mm-hmm.
that I just said it took me a long time to be able to say that, because it used to sound like, oh, I can't say that. I can't say I'm great at what I do. But when I said it, did it sound weird or crazy, or did I sound like a jerk?
No, no.
No, I just sounded like a guy who really liked what I do, right? And worked
Mhm.
hard to be. So this is the thing for you who are listening right now. I want you to begin practicing speaking positively about yourself. Right? When you're in a sales meeting, when you're talking with someone, to say, look, I am really good at this. In fact, I don't know anybody who is better at this. And I don't want you to work with someone who's not as good as I am. Right? There's plenty of them out there. Right? I want to make sure that you are handled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think it's hard for a lot of people to say that, but the truth is there are I think a
Mhm.
lot of people that are in that category
Yeah.
that don't want to sound too confident, don't want to sound
Mhm.
too, and there is a there's a fine line you get to there, but when you don't give people enough show people enough confidence in yourself that they can have confidence in you, that's where you're really losing out.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, people of lesser quality who are better at selling will get your clients,
Yes. Yes.
and they will mishandle them, right? They will underserve them. And I'm
Hmm.
going to say something bold. It's your fault, right? If those people go to somebody else, it's your fault because you didn't work hard enough, right?
Yes. Yes. And like you said, it's your fault, because if it really is a good fit and you didn't communicate well enough, exude the confidence that you needed
Yeah.
to, or show them the confidence that they could be confident and you're the right solution, then it's your deal.
Yeah, it really is. And
Yeah.
that extends out to following up with people.
Hmm.
If you have this thing in your head that says, well, if they really wanted to work with me, they would return my call. All right. You're smiling, right? Because
Yeah.
right? That's not how it works, right? They do really
Yeah.
want to work with you, but they got a lot of other stuff going on,
Yes.
right? So you got to keep after them. I mean, my sales cycle is up to 6 months,
Hmm.
right? Look, I'm expensive, right? And so
Hmm.
people don't make snap judgments. They don't invest, $60,000 in coaching, on a whim. And
Yeah.
so it takes a while, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of following up. It's a lot of
Hmm.
following up. And there have been times where I'm like, oh God, am I bothering this person? Like, that's none of my business. It's not my business if I'm bothering them, right?
Hmm.
My business is helping them. If they say, Dan, stop bothering me, then it becomes my business.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm trying to get into somebody else's head and guess what they're thinking, that's a bad business to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and follow up is something that is so underrated, because it does take a lot of time, and especially with an expensive decision. I'm
Hmm.
in that same boat when you're talking
Yeah.
about expensive decisions. It is something that takes a lot of time, and your follow up has to continue to build confidence all the way through the
Hmm.
process, and it really has to allow them to make a comfortable decision at their timeline.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think. And yeah, following up once and then not hearing anything back is not cool. Following up a bunch of times and not hearing anything back, well, then maybe, if I'm in
Yeah.
10 or 12, I might be thinking about, all right, do something else. But the wonderful thing
Yeah.
is, if you get consistent with follow up, you will understand that it usually takes a handful of times,
Hmm.
because people are busy. And we may think, well, they haven't thought well, no, they have. There's a million other things that can be taking their attention away. Every
Yeah.
single time that communication, got to their phone, got to their email inbox, wherever it was, they could have been really busy doing something else. They could have, said, oh, I got to get to this, hit red on it. It got lost in the void of
Right.
being.
Yeah. I mean, right. They might get an email from you, Damon, like, oh, yeah, I've got to call him back. I've got to
Yeah.
get in touch with Damon. I really want to work with him. And then, something happens at home, right? The
Yeah.
kid has the flu, right? And then, right. And so you keep, oh, yeah, Damon. Yeah. Oh, God, I'm so good, right? I can't tell you the number of times somebody has said, oh, thank you for staying in touch.
Yeah.
Right? And it like the first time I heard that, like, oh wow, that's really interesting because I thought I was being a pest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Ron says, following up is the first indicator of your integrity.
Oh, I love that, Ron. Way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Great, Ron. Thanks. So you said something a little bit ago. I want to go back to this now
Hmm?
because I think some people uh, don't don't really understand how much you said talking about self-confidence
Hmm.
um, and really I'm going back to this again. You talk about your day, the way you start your day, right?
Hmm.
Taking the time to work out, to get your mind right. You said prayer, meditation, exercise,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. I'm just curious, did you have that same morning routine when you had your marketing company,
It
or did that start after?
started after. I laugh because I I really hated that company, and I didn't even know it. I did it because I had a vision of myself, Damon, that was like Dan the executive, right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to force myself into a mold that just wasn't me. And and I thought that like once I got there, I'd be really happy. Like I'd be making money, I'd have, the nice car and the
Mhm.
office, like all the things. And that would somehow give me this thing, right? And so of course I wasn't doing meditation because in meditation, I would be doing a lot of self-reflection. And the
Mhm.
self-reflection, I would be saying things like, I hate my life, right? I'd be praying and God would be going, get out of marketing, right? Before I crash your company, right? But,
Yeah.
so I wasn't doing those things because I didn't want to hear the truths, right? And so in doing that, right, and spending time with yourself, um, the truths start to come out and you have to pay attention to them.
Mhm.
And plenty of times it's truths that you don't want to hear, but it's truths that you need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm the way that my business has evolved is because of those very things that I do, right? Some things that come up in meditation, in prayer, while I'm working out, like, oh, wait a second. What if I did that? You know?
Mhm. Yeah, I asked that because in my previous career, I did neither, and taking the time to get into a morning routine that allows you to really get yourself prepared for the day. I think a couple things happen, meditation, just quiet, whatever you want to call it. Um, you really can begin to address some of the things that you may not like about yourself, that you may help
Mhm.
you get more confidence in yourself and move forward past that. And then two, one of the other things that I think is just so sorely missed is if you don't start your day right, if you wake up and I'm just hit the ground, problem slamming me right in the face at the beginning, it's like a little weed that just got blowed over in the surf, right? And
Mhm.
if you're ready to go and you're worked out and your mind is solid and I'm coming from a good place into the day, now
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a rock. And that rock just sits there and the waves hit it and just crashes around you. And when the tide goes out, it gets sunny, right? And that's such an important part when we look at success and we look at personal happiness as you go
Mhm.
through these ups and downs that we will. And especially as we're talking about today, selling authentically. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna go through the ups and downs. So starting that day the right way, getting
Yeah.
that feeling the right way, and then you can help other people feel that throughout the day.
It is. It's really well said. And look, I don't always wake up in a great mood. I don't. I
No.
mean, sometimes I wake up and the weight of the world is on me and just like doom lives inside of me. And no kidding. And I mean this and I'm talking very recent too.
Yeah, yeah,
And it may happen tomorrow, right?
yeah.
But here's what I know. I know that my mind is my job, right? And getting my mind right is my business. And so if I wake up in a bad spot, I got to get up out of bed, because
Yeah.
the longer I lie there in bed, the more time the darker forces of my mind have to start to twist and turn things. And I'll say this too. Those thoughts, those negative thoughts that we have, in a strange way, are designed to help us.
Mm-hmm.
Because what my mind is trying to get me to do is to stay in bed, right? If I can tell Dan a story that the world sucks and he's never going to be successful, then he's just going to stay in bed and nothing bad is going to happen to him, right? It's like a 6-year-old's version of the world. Like, let
Yeah.
me just stay
Yeah.
in my bedroom, right? And it makes perfect sense from that perspective. But who's the grown up, right? I am. Right. So I got to get that grown up energy going, right? I got to get that CEO energy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, mind, I hear you. I get that there's some scary stuff that we're going to work on today. And what do we know? That when we start working on it, it gets better, not worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think as we're talking today, when we're talking about people that do have trouble, having that confidence in a group of people, or in a one-on-one setting, and really exuding the confidence about they have put the time in to be really good at what they're doing. They do have the skills to really help somebody, whether it's in an employee role, whether it's in a consulting role, services role, whatever you're doing. I think that internal feeling that you talked about, getting that right before you start going. And I know I've heard a lot of salespeople say, I get myself ready before I get going, myself ready before I get going, because it's like baseball, right? I'm going to strike out a lot before I get a hit. And we just have to get ready like that before we get going, I think.
That's really well said. And you just made me think of something that I want to share. I get really frustrated when people say that sales is a numbers game. And I'll tell you why. Think of it this way, because you just mentioned baseball. If you decide to be a baseball player, and every time you go up to bat, instead of bringing a bat, you bring a feather, right? And you say, you know what? Instead of swinging at the ball with a bat, I'm going to use this feather. And it's just a numbers game. Eventually, I will get on base, right? Well, look, if you're playing the game wrong, if you're not playing the game by the rules, you're never going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So when people excuse their lack of professionalism or ability in sales by calling it a numbers game, what they're doing is they're excusing themselves from investing in learning how to sell. Right? It's only a numbers game once you know how to play the game. But don't excuse yourself from learning how to play the game by calling it a numbers game.
That's a great point. I hadn't heard that before, but it is true, because if you're not using the right approach and the right tools, you are not playing the game properly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of flips and twists that people do in their mind to avoid learning how to sell, because it's hard and it's uncomfortable. And I get it, right? This is a difficult thing, but really selling is about learning how to be influential, right? You can't be great at what you do, and you can't achieve your goal of helping a lot of people unless you are influential, unless you know how to influence them, unless you know how, when they're about to make a poor choice, to influence them to make a better choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it takes doing things that you don't want to do. It takes doing things that may feel a little pushy, right? They may feel a little direct, right? They may feel like you're stepping over the line a little bit. But I want you to think about it this way. If someone who you loved was suffering from the disease of alcoholism, and you knew to save their life, you had to get them into rehab, right? You sat down and talked with them, and they said, well, you know what? You gave me a lot to think about. I'm really going to think about rehab, and I'll get back to you sometime, right? Now, there's no way that person is going to get help. And if you really love that person, what you do is you go, no, that's not where this conversation ends. This conversation ends with you getting in the car and me driving you to rehab. Hate me forever, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? That's love. That's care. That's being influential. Now, if you're selling websites or printing or coaching or whatever you're selling, no one's going to die if they don't buy in. but the principle is there. If
Yes.
you really care about that person, you're willing to lean in and get serious and push a little bit. And there's bad pushy, but there's
Yeah.
good pushy, right? There's the good pushy is, hey, I don't want to look. I know you don't want to do this right now, but I'm unwilling to just sort of let go, right? I'm unwilling to agree with the fact that you should wait.
Mm-hmm.
You may not buy from me, but I'm not going to agree with you on something that I know isn't true.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you bring up a great point, because one of the things that I think a lot of people that are trying to sell don't realize is their biggest competitor oftentimes is indecision.
Yeah, I love that.
Because it really is.
Yeah.
It's like it does take enough of a nudge to move out of the comfort zone, because
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand of that too, making the decision to do something is moving into the unknown, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. They're going to spend some money. They're going to have to do some things, like you said, they may not like to do. But
Yeah.
if you can show the appropriate benefits or reasons that they should be able to do it, and then continue to reiterate that to the point that
Mm-hmm.
they go, you're right, I really should
Yeah.
do the rehab thing. I've been putting it off way too long, blah 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 blah. And you continue to help them until they get there. That's good influence.
It is, right? Right. It's good pushy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It is staying focused on what is best for the other person. And it's really easy to say, well, they know what's best for them. Oftentimes they don't, right? They don't know what's best for them because you're an expert at what you do. They are not. You
Mhm.
know, once they're happily engaged with their product or service, how their life will be better. They don't, right? They
Yeah.
only know life from their side,
Ooh, great
right?
point.
They don't know life from your side, right? People don't know what it's like to coach with me until they coach with me, right? To be actively involved in a coaching relationship with me. It's
Hmm.
a no bullshit experience, right?
Yeah.
And they love it, right? But they don't know how much they love it until they do it. So I have to give them an experience of it and then be very clear about if this is something that you want in your life, if you want to achieve these things before you leave this earth, I will help you do that. I don't know who else will. I
Hmm.
don't know who else will be committed to you at the level that I am because I only know my coaching.
Yes.
I know how committed I am, right? These are things that I talk about, right?
Yeah.
And they don't sound pushy or full of myself. They sound like, okay, this guy seems to know what he's talking about.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
do.
Awesome. Well, as you're helping people get through this, break through
Yeah.
this, to get more and more comfortable with selling, with being an influential person, and really helping the people they're trying to help sell to, whatever I'm trying to say here. What are some of the most common things that people say to you? So if someone's sitting here today and they're thinking about, yeah, but, what are
Yeah.
those yeah buts that you get?
Oh, I can't afford it. That's a really easy one,
Okay.
you know. Um, and anytime you're selling a product or service that has a high dollar value, you're going to hear, I can't afford it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing with I can't afford it. And you touched on this, Damon, and I really appreciate it. It's fear.
Yes.
Because let's face it, if they, God forbid, they needed a kidney, they'd afford it. Right. Nobody says, I'd really like to have that kidney to save my life. It's just not in the cards right now. Right. I got some other expenses. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of making the money make sense, right? And going back to that influence of helping them recognize that the time is now, right? And to achieve the things that they want, this is the path, right? And so one of the things that I do, I'll say it this way, a big mistake that a lot of salespeople make is somebody says, I can't afford it. They start talking about features and benefits. Well, look, You want this, you say this, you say that. But something that you really have to understand is that when somebody says, I can't afford it, what they're saying is, I'm scared. Right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so if you start launching in with something else without acknowledging what they're experiencing, you're just telling them that they're wrong. And even if they are wrong, I mean, Damon, can you remember the last time somebody proved you wrong and you felt good about it? Like, oh, thank you for proving me wrong. I really appreciate this feeling of being, a moron. Uh, my words, please, not yours. But right, we don't feel good when somebody proves us wrong.
Mhm.
So the first thing that you want to do is go to where they are, acknowledge it, right? So somebody says, I can't afford it. I go, "Phew, man, I know that feeling. When I went to buy my Tesla, right? I mean, it's a really expensive car.
Mhm.
And I took a look at that and I'm like, well, I can't afford that. Um, and then I realized something. What I realized is that car had everything that we wanted, that Rosalind and I wanted, right? It's a car that drove itself, right? We love traveling. We hate driving, right?
Mhm.
And fortunately, we live in a world and a time where a car can drive itself. But that's the cost, right? That
Mhm.
was the cost of getting what I wanted. So I had a choice. I either turn away from what I want and not get it, or I move in and I get it. And here's what I realized I was really afraid of. What I was afraid of was buying the car and not being able to pay the car payments and someone driving my car away. And
Mhm.
that feeling, like that feeling of that sick feeling of like, God, I failed, right? And so I get that there's a lot of feelings that you're having about this cost. And I don't think it's just the money. So can we talk about what these feelings are? Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I get there. I
Yeah.
get there by going where they are, by talking about the feeling, the fears, talking about my own experience with the fears of paying a lot of money. And then even if it ends up being a no, at least we're having an honest conversation.
Mhm.
Right? I met them where they are. I'm talking about the things that they're really struggling with, and I'm helping them resolve it
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
the mission.
Well, and it's a way to help them, right? Even if
Mhm.
and so if you're in that situation and you take that time that you're talking to someone about your product, service, whatever it is, and they say, "Oh, I can't afford it," and you meet them there and you talk about that, and you talk about how similar situations, how this is a big decision, understand
Yeah.
that, and then move forward with but on the other side of this, there are what would happen if our work together produced these results.
Yes.
And
Right.
then how would we feel? Then how would we feel?
Yeah.
Understand there's risk going into everything we do, but there's also reward with that risk. And,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where it could go if it went relatively well, if it went wonderfully well, if it went out of this world. There's all kinds of ways to look at it that way because as you talked about a long time ago, our mind is trying to protect us all the
Yeah.
time. So it goes to the negative to start out. I can't afford it. And you can say, I understand that this is a lot of money. There's
Yeah.
no doubt. A lot of money. And like you said with your Tesla,
Yeah.
there are many other times that we do this in our lives and in business. But then again, there are times when we look at things and we go back and we spent an awful lot of money on that Tesla now, but it really is an experience in a way that we can travel and do it the way we want and do the things that we want with it because of that.
Yeah.
And my fears were unfounded, and
Mm-hmm.
that we're on the other side of that. We're on the positive benefits part of this. And I think
I'm
that's
making more money after I bought that car than it was before. Like the car
yeah.
payments I don't even think about them anymore. Right.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
love having that vehicle. It's an amazing piece of technology.
Yeah.
We do a lot of driving,
Yeah.
and especially in LA, it's a crappy place to drive, right? So just sitting there, the car does the driving. Rosalind and I having great conversations. We look up, oh, we're here, right? That never would have happened if I hadn't taken the risk. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
these are the things I talk about, right? These are the things like, and for you who are listening, share personal experiences Like
Yeah.
that's, authenticity. Authenticity is about sharing hearts. It's not about trying to drag someone over to your kind of thinking or to where, your product or service. It's like, man, we're the same. We
Mm.
have the same fears, the same feelings, the same concerns. In this one area, I got it. Like, I can help you. Right.
Yeah.
And if you, if you take it from that perspective, kind of like, you're putting your arm around them like, man, I get you.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I've been right where you are. And I don't want you to miss out on something that you want because of, you know, 4 million years of, evolution that
Yes.
tells your brain don't do new things. It's dangerous, right? It's why human beings have lasted on the planet this long. We are risk averse.
Yes. Yes. So as you're going through this with people and you're down the coaching lane with them and they're
Yeah.
starting to get more comfortable, what are some of the things that they talk about?
I love getting to the point where people talk about their greatest fears, right? Their greatest concerns. And everything, Damon, from the moment the sale begins to you get to really know someone, everything is headed towards, I just want the people I love to be happy, right? That's what everybody wants. It's why people go on vacations or go to a comedy club or buy a car. Like it
Mhm.
always comes down to, I just want the people I love to be happy, right? And so when I'm working with someone, and it's really easy for me to start with sales. It's a great place to start. It's also a way that I can get them paid back, which is really important to me,
Yes. Yes.
right? I paid over $100,000 in crappy coaching, right?
Yeah.
Paying out money with a lot of promises and people that, right? So I started working when I started really doing this. I said, look, the first thing we're going to do, and it's on my agreement, the first thing we're going to do is work to get you paid back.
Yeah.
Because I'm a business coach. If I'm not making you money, I'm a fraud, and I refuse to be a fraud, right?
Yeah.
So we start with that. We start with looking at selling. And it's a cool thing because selling is the ultimate personal development experience. Like anything that you struggle in with business, life, or relationship shows up in a sales interaction. So as we start to work in sales, people's doubts and fears come up, right? And then, oh, good. Now I can really start working on them personally. Right? I can really start to unwind the trauma that they're living under that's preventing them from doing or saying certain things to help them, right?
Hmm.
We can talk about what they've been through in life, right? The hurt, the pain. Just started working with someone who lost their spouse, right, to cancer, right? So we're
Hmm.
having some very intense conversations about navigating business with that trauma.
Hmm.
And these are the things as a salesperson you really do want to get to. I mean, you can't open with that, right? You can't open with,
Yeah.
so tell me how you've been hurt in life. But when you start doing the things I'm talking about, like, hey, I get it, right? It's really scary to buy something new, right? It opens a space for someone to share very personal things.
Hmm.
And so in my coaching, it is it's not just about goals and accountability and crap like that. I mean, you get that stuff online. You don't need me for that. What you need me for is to help unwind the things that you're struggling with, right? To take you on a journey.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you something, Damon. I've put myself in really hellacious physical and emotional spaces because I needed to learn how to help someone through the most difficult things that they've done. I mean, I'm talking about going skydiving and boxing and psilocybin trips. Like, I mean, I've kicked the door down of a lot of really scary
Hmm.
shit, right?
Yeah.
Because I need to know how to do this, right? I need to
Yeah.
know how to help navigate people through difficulty in order for them to achieve the things that they want out of life and to secure helping or help them secure goodness for the people that they love.
Hmm. Well, that's awesome. So, what if you had to pick one thing? What do you love the most about what you do?
I ask people that question a lot, and people tend to say, I like helping people. And like, I reject that answer, right? Everybody likes helping people. There's a point where someone either goes for it or they don't. And I think that moment, Damon. I'm sure you've had
Mhm.
those people with yourself and with other people. And one of the go for it moments is just to hire me, right? That's the first go for it.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
that's the easy one, really. I don't tell people that, like, oh, this is the easiest part, spending the money. It's when they get to a point of, okay, I'm going to have to start saying and doing things that I've never wanted to say and do. Because whatever trauma that's inside of me, whatever holdbacks are, whatever things that were put in me that said, don't go there, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to have to do those things to ultimately achieve the things that I want in life, business, and relationships, right? To get true fulfillment in this life journey. Now we're at the final door. And Damon, putting my arm around someone and guiding them through that door, that's what I love doing.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when we get there and when they do that, on the other side of that door is freedom. A shitload of money, but also freedom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They go together, right?
Yeah. They do. They do.
Because when you stop, worry isn't the right word. When you stop traumatizing yourself
Hmm.
over this thing, whatever it is that you've kind of approached the door, but then moved away from. When you move through that, and it's tough moving through it, but when you finally do, it does heal trauma. It does, because what it says to your internal systems is, I'm safe. I don't have to use the trauma anymore to protect me,
Hmm.
because I'm not that person anymore, right? I'm not a 6-year-old getting hurt or beaten, right? I'm a grown person now, right? And it
Yeah.
heals that psyche, that psychosis that has been put in place to protect you, that you don't need anymore. And it is an awesome feeling,
Yes.
right? It
Yes.
is. It is my favorite thing.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. And I can hear the passion in your voice and how, yeah, it's well, I
A
mean,
bit.
because it's like really, if you're, I mean, there's, as you said with your marketing firm, you did that, but that's not where your heart was. You knew it, but you kept on because and it's good when you can have that feeling about what you're doing and how you're helping people, because that allows you to help them more fully.
Mm,
And
does.
that's a really a key difference, I think, between someone that's just going through motions or someone that really changes lives.
Mm. I see
And
it. I see it
yeah,
a lot. I see so many people dissatisfied with their lives and certain that their lives are locked and cannot be changed. And it is never true. If you
yes,
believe it's true, I want you to put your finger on your wrist. And if you have a pulse, if you can feel that, then you still have time.
yes.
Right. And by the way, I would like to help your audience. If you're open to it, I'd like to give away a
Mhm.
book. I'd like to give away my book.
All right.
This book is a book that I wrote based on something that somebody said to me once. I was talking about sales, and he said, "Oh, selling's bullshit." I'm like, "Oh, that's the title of my next book." And
Yes.
so I wrote the book, Selling is Bullshit, specifically for people who love what they do, who are great at what they do, but really don't like selling. And
Hmm.
so you can go on Amazon and buy it, but I'd rather give it away for free. So to get that book, just text the letters BS as in bullshit, text BS to this number,
All right.
213 409 8366. 213 409 8366, and text the letters BS. Text BS to 213 409 8366 and download my book, Selling is Bullshit, for free. And
Nice.
everything that I've shared with you and more is in that book.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Dan, I just want to thank you for stopping by today with us and really just really laying it out there with some, your story, how you're helping people be more authentic and confident in themselves, so they can then achieve the success that they're looking for in their sales and in their lives. So if people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way to reach you, Dan?
Well, first of all, just download that book, 213-409-8366 and text BS, and say, hey, would love to chat, right? And I will chat with you. You know what? The other thing you can do is you can text help, the word help, HELP, to that same number, 213-409-8366, and book a call with me. There's two things I will guarantee you in that call. One, you will walk away with at least $10,000 worth of advice. And two, you will not be a client, because I will not ask you to be a client. Those calls are not to close someone, right? That's not what this is about, right? Rarely do people take me up on that. They're always afraid I'm going to try to sell them on. Look, I'm very particular about who I take as clients, so don't worry. It takes a bit of you have to climb a bit of a hill before I will take you on. The other thing is just do a search for Coach Dan Gordon. Coach Dan Gordon. Just do a Google search. I'm everywhere. You go on LinkedIn, Coach Dan Gordon. Facebook, Instagram, and you know what? Here's the thing I really like. Jump on LinkedIn. Do a search for Coach Dan Gordon. Find me. Send me a DM. Right? Tell me something that you got out of this. Right? I only know the world from my eyes out. Right? I don't know the world from your experience of me, and I'm really curious what that experience is. Like, just tell me one thing that you got out of this. I would love to hear that.
Awesome. Well, Coach Dan, thanks so much for being here today. We're talking about selling authentically, building trust, and winning clients. And you just gave us a masterclass, my friend. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Damon, thank you for what you do. I love the way that you serve, brother. This has been a delight.
I'm just happy I can. I want to say, hey, Ron, thank you so much for dropping the comments in there today. And I saw we had a bunch of other people that were listening today. Thank you so much for being out there. And if you got into this late, you want to go back to the beginning. Coach Dan started right off with some great things about, how he got started, some of the things that he went through to get started, to really feel his story and how he is helping people today. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. Dan, hang out for a minute. We'll finish up offline. Go out and be someone's inspiration. Just have a great rest of your day and the rest of your week. Thanks, everyone, for being here.